Welcome back to the Lawnspiracy. This is AJ with Hippie Fertilizing, and I am Shane with Eric Putnam, BCMA. Thank you for joining us again. I know last time we were talking a little bit about all of the don'ts with herbicide usage, how dangerous it can be, and some of the effects. Let's talk about some do's. Let's talk about some good things, some beneficial things, and some solutions.
Yes, simple solutions.
Simple.
Right? Because I've learned if it's gets very complicated and complex, especially from the lawn care side of things, you're probably overdoing it already.
Yeah.
If there's too many steps, you could probably take out half of those steps and you'll be better off.
But AJ, what about my 33-step lawn care program? What am I supposed to do with that?
Quit buying it. Okay, quit trying it for the third year in a row and you didn't have a perfect lawn, sir.
I mean, that's very true. That's very true. Spent a lot of money.
Yeah.
Not a perfect
time,
lawn. Yeah.
Man, a lot of effort, a lot of sweat equity, right? For a lot of times, what I find yielding not as much results. So, you on the tree side, I have some small idea of like the things you utilize in applications. And I would ask, like, what are they? Because I think people will be so surprised at how simple
It really
some
is.
of these applications are.
You know, we really don't we may have a couple of dozen chemical fertilizer jobs throughout the entire year. And remember, we were talking about 7,000 clients a year, right?
Woo! Yeah.
So to only have a couple dozen at most chemical fertilizer jobs over 7,000 people a year, that says we're not really doing much of that.
Right.
Almost everything we use is just humic acid and molasses. And we're able to have some of the best results in all of Greater Houston with just those two ingredients. Two ingredients, that's all. None of this extra fluff, none of this every 3-month treatment. I mean, there's so many different programs where they say you got to do this month, this month, that the next month, and make it very convoluted and complex.
Yeah.
But I mean, we keep it very simple.
Humic acid, molasses, which we have some right here.
Humic acid is the powder, and molasses, you just drink that straight. I think that's fresh out of the bottle.
It's food grade molasses. Okay?
Yeah, that's the big one. Unsulfated, no sulfur.
Yeah, it's a very good, clean product. And I use it a lot in my lawn care services, as well as humic acid. I was fortunate enough to learn from the Eric Putnam BCMA as I got into the fertilizing side. Now I do use a few more products to fertilize lawns. They are a little bit of a different animal.
Exactly. Lawn's a little bit different of an animal. I mean, it's almost like a mix between a short-term crop and a long-term crop like trees are. It lives a long time, right? And it's a perennial, but it has a lot more of those kind of nuances that, like, say when you're growing corn or something where you need to some level, you need to be able to produce higher production levels and stuff like that. So, I mean, I get the lawn is a little bit more finicky.
That, and in my side, the expectation for response time is very high, and I work very hard to achieve the fastest response time I possibly can by supporting soil biology.
Makes sense.
So when it comes to the do's, all right, there are products out there like molasses, the humic acid. You can get these in granular forms and in powders.
Yeah.
Mix them with water, use a hose and sprayer, a pump sprayer, and put it out. So far, the good thing is it gives a lot of room for user error.
Oh, I mean,
too.
I really don't think you can overdo it unless if you're just salting the earth with it.
Look.
And then even then, the only reason you're having an issue is because you just blocked out sunlight because it's 4 inches thick of humic acid.
Exactly, right? I have tried to overdo it with molasses and humic acid, and I have yet to achieve that because the amount, I did one time, I take that back.
Okay.
I take that back. I had a 55-gallon drum of molasses that I needed to get dealt with because I was moving stuff. So I dumped out the molasses in this field and some grass. But the fascinating thing that happened was the very center that was blocked out by the sun, basically. Yes, that part died. The whole circle around it turned into perfectly green grass. I'm not even kidding. I was like, man, how do I achieve this like saturation rate on lawns? Because it was probably half of that 55-gallon drum.
Well, and that's what we have a hard time explaining to customers a lot of times, is that we put out a lot of molasses and they worry about it getting diluted. But the thing is that we put it out at such a concentration that it doesn't matter. We can't put enough water down in that short a period enough time to be able to actually dilute it enough. Like we're putting it out very concentrated as it is because of how far it really can go.
Yes. And as we talk about these things, right? Why would we use these products? Okay.
Soil food web.
Correct. But what's the magic of molasses besides the soil food web? I would say that, there's sugars, there's micronutrients. It does a lot of stuff, but give me something a little more intricate.
Well, I think you cover a lot of the big ones. It's a lot of biological activity in the soil. It's a lot of micronutrients in the soil because the molasses, it's high in iron, it's high in zinc, it's high in, I'd have to have a list in front of me because it's almost high in everything.
The hippie mind thought that was funny. However, yes, you are correct. It's high in iron, potassium, calcium, magnesium. It even has B vitamins. And yes, it feeds the soil food web, but more specifically, it feeds a load of bacteria.
Yeah.
Right? And bacteria help to solubilize minerals in the soil, so they help promote root production, right? They help increase nutrient uptake. Did you know that sugar in the soil also helps with moisture retention?
I think I heard a little bit about it, but I'm not very well versed on it.
Yeah, I'm not super duper versed on it either. But it's just something that has come across, my awareness listening to other like PhD doctors in the soil field.
And do you know if it's just like the sugar itself just happens to hold on to moisture longer, or?
That detail I did not grab.
It's fascinating.
Okay, but the gentleman, I'm going to chop up his name. I think it's Tom Dykstra. And he also recommends molasses on agricultural fields. But he says one of the things it helps with is with that moisture retention. Because let's face it, you can put everything down, right? But if you don't have moisture for the nutrients to move and for the uptake into the plant, you're not getting much out of it.
No, I agree.
So one of the cool things about molasses and the sugar, among all the many benefits, is increasing moisture retention. Because down here, I'm sure everywhere has a similar issue, but we go from floods to droughts in like a week.
Droughts big enough where the soil, it separates several feet, big enough to swallow a small child whole sometimes.
Yeah.
You can literally fall into these cracks that form.
Oh, I tell people all the time, hey man, if your lawn is cracking, it's lacking. All right, you need to water that thing. How do I know if I need to water? Sir, there's cracks.
Get that trademark some of these slogans.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Well, I just want it to be easy to remember for you. And I want it to be simple. So we talked a little bit about molasses, sugar, micronutrients, iron, potassium, the humic acid. You can get it in powder forms and granular forms. I like both a lot. Now, Shane, what is some of the magic of humic acid?
Humic acid just doesn't stop. It works on almost every level you could really think of. It is one growing fungi in the soil. It's a huge soil food web. It expands the soil food web massively. We're dealing with literally changing the composition of the soil, because the humic acid, due to its ionic charge, actually takes, like, we're in very heavy clay soil around here for the most part. I mean, everything, very heavy clay. Clay particles are the smallest particle. It goes sand, silt, then clay. And these clay particles, they're flat sheets and they stack on top of each other. And that's why you end up with so many compaction issues. Humic acid, it literally sits there, and due to its ionic charge, takes those clay particles and flips them where they're stacked like that. And it chemically aerates on a molecular level the soil without ever disturbing the soil.
So hold on. Hold the phone here. You mean to tell me I don't have to bust out a core aeration machine?
Not one bit.
To aerate my lawn?
You know,
landscape?
The lawns, I hear that there's issues with thatch sometimes getting built up, but I think there's different ways of addressing the thatch from time to time.
There definitely is, right? And I'll point back to the molasses for that. You spray some sugar on it, microbes will help eat up the thatch.
Yeah.
And then it breaks it down into more organic matter, further helping with the soil flocculation.
Exactly.
Right? Which is part of what he's talking about, and what humic acid helps with is soil flocculation. Chelating nutrients.
Exactly.
Feeding the soil food web, having a ton of micronutrients itself.
Yeah.
Right? And what I love about these things is that they're safe.
Completely.
Yeah. Y'all saw me just eat the molasses.
The humic acid, they actually sell like a digestible humic. I mean, it's probably the same thing, but it's food grade rated or whatever.
Human grade.
Yeah,
is what it's called.
That's all it is.
I looked it up online. Human grade humic acid, and it is also supposed to help chelate nutrients in your body. It's supposed to help with your overall gut health.
Yeah.
And look, I'm a little quackadoodle dude. No joke, but I've even taken humic acid powder. Say if I've been out and I get a rash from like poison ivy, and I put it on the rash, I'm talking in minutes. The itching goes away.
It's real.
Within a day, the rash area clears up significantly faster.
My crew is always talking about how they might have like little cuts on their hands and stuff like that. And so when they're scooping the humic acid out of the bucket, they'll rub it on themselves. And they tell me that it triples the time, or it reduces the time of healing by like threefold.
Absolutely.
And it's insane.
Yeah.
It literally will take, they'll say like, oh, well, I had this cut up here that happened on the same day, but didn't get humic acid on it. It took 2 weeks. This one took like a couple days.
Now, look, we're not trying to give you any healing advice, okay? This is just our own personal experiences.
Anecdotal.
Right? Yeah. Don't go and try and use humic acid to heal yourself, okay? But you can put food grade molasses in your coffee and in your drinks and cookies. Have fun with that.
Absolutely.
And there's other good things out there too. We've talked a lot about humic acid molasses, and they're simple, safe, easy to acquire, but there's other good things out there like seaweed.
Yeah, absolutely.
Seaweed has a lot of good impact on plants, root production, and I have a hard time explaining this, so please excuse me, people. Something that seaweed does is it has an impact on plants that boosts the abilities plants to fight back. It has like a very low triggering response.
That's very interesting. I didn't know that specifically about seaweed. I'll have to look into that more, but I know even on the basis of humic acid and molasses, it's doing that as well, because the healthier a plant is, or the more fungal network that it has supporting it, the stronger the plant is by itself.
Right. But like when a plant, or even ourselves, gets a little bit of resistance, and we work against that resistance, and it's not too much, not an overload, we get stronger.
Oh.
Right? And so seaweed, to some small degree, does help that. Now, is it gonna, say, fix a chinch bug infestation? No, it will not. But if it was used regularly with other proper things on a lawn, could it help prevent a chinch bug infestation? Yeah.
And that's what we find with a lot of these kind of products that we use, is it's real good at preventing these issues from arising. And especially if you implement the program before you start having major problems,
Yeah.
you can prevent all of this money spend and all of this, headache and heartache over a terrible looking ecosystem
And
in your
throwing
yard.
the wrong kitchen sink at everything.
Yeah.
Right? I treated this and I sprayed that. Did you spray molasses, sir? Why would I do that? It stimulates soil biology, and that's what we need to get the plants to grow.
Yeah. The plants, they don't live by themselves just in the yard. They're in an ecosystem that supports them. They're not an individual organism that doesn't have anything supporting them. They literally would not be alive. I mean, you might be able to, in a laboratory setting, grow a plant and have a decent plant live for a little bit without, even soil. But when it comes to long-term plants like trees and grass, the soil and the soil food web and the ecosystem surrounding it is really what supports that plant staying alive.
Absolutely.
Because it's always being attacked. There's not a day where that grass isn't being attacked by something, whether that's sun, drought, insects, people.
Sorry, guys.
Dogs.
People. The mowers.
Yeah.
Yes, it's constantly overcoming stress. So seaweed helps reduce that stress. Again, helps with nutrient uptake, adds a little bit of nutrients, and again, is another relatively really safe product to use.
Absolutely. No, I completely agree with that. And so let me ask you, what is your experience with, because I know a lot of what we talked about last episode was the herbicide damage and how bad a lot of this herbicide damage can be and how hard it is to overcome. How do you overcome it?
I overcome it by feeding the lawn in such a way where it helps remediate the soil. And to be honest, too, part of that overcoming the lawn is customer education. Because if the customer doesn't get on board with me on what not to do, then really my services are useless.
In the Texas Department of Agriculture, it's called cultural practices. And they actually teach about how cultural practices, which are usually the homeowner or the crew the homeowner hires to take care of their property, those practices that are ingrained in one's culture, right? So in America, a lot of it's perfectly green lawns, perfectly weed-free lawns with all of this chemical application. And so that's a cultural practice that is very used upon almost everyone.
True, and often people only do what they know.
How high it's mowed.
How high, man. So most of the time, all the time, you can only do what you know, and you can only apply like the knowledge that you have, right? Unfortunately, a lot of information out there is not information to teach people how to do something good.
Yeah.
It's more information based on what to buy that someone is selling you.
It's all marketing.
Right? In these products that we're showing here, dude, go to the grocery store, buy some molasses.
Yeah.
Look it up online, whatever friggin' humic acid floats your boat, okay? If you like the package, great. Roll with it. It's better than no humic acid.
Exactly.
Right? We're not here to tell you and sell you stuff. I just want to inform you. And unfortunately, there's a lot of information out there that is not accurate. It's just sales.
Exactly.
And let me help unsell it by saying one of the things that helps the most, getting the customer on board that this process is going to take a little while. And we put down stuff like MicroLife Humates Plus.
Sure.
I use it all the time because it has all the things we've talked about: seaweed, molasses, humates. It even has stuff like yucca.
Yeah, no, yucca is a big one. I've been seeing more and more about. I've heard about the water retention with yucca and all sorts of really beneficial stuff there.
Yucca also has that like mild stress response that makes a plant stronger.
Interesting.
Yeah. And beneficial microbes, like when you have a lawn that has been overtreated and defeated, you have to go hardcore on feeding bacteria. Feeding bacteria and feeding soil biology need to be number one. But again, it's about simplicity. And one of the easiest ways to do it even though you may think I'm crazy, spray that, whatever, the lawn, the tree, the flower beds, water and molasses.
Yeah.
I will put this part out there. In my experience, on smaller flower beds and on the lawn, if you're spraying molasses on everything, you can spray it all over everything and it will be safe, but I recommend spray it till the hose end sprayer is empty, and rinse everything off, because the real magic is happening in the soil.
In the soil, absolutely.
Right? So saturate it enough to where everything goes in the soil. Don't necessarily focus on covering the leaves and plant.
Well, because when you wash down afterwards, there's still residual on the plant. There's always going to be residual. And there is a lot of symbiotic bacteria and fungi that do live on the surface of these plants that will still eat the food.
Yeah.
But nowhere near as much of the concentration of biological activity that's in the soil.
Just in my experience though, I don't want that same concentration, especially of molasses,
diluted,
on the leaf, as I want it in the soil.
Exactly.
You know, so that's why I say make sure you give it a little good rinse down, because your leaves don't need to be covered in sugar.
No.
They can have a little bit, and it's very
residual.
beneficial.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
And on to the other part of what to do. Okay, read labels, read directions. But if you're looking for a fertilizer that's going to be very well rounded, my personal recommendation is darn near anything, as long as it don't have herbicides.
That's the
With
truth.
urea methylene.
Okay.
I say urea methylene because it is more of a true slow release. They call it a synthetic organic.
Okay.
Because it's carbon bonded urea and it requires microbial activity to break down. It stays relatively really stable in the soil as well, so it's not impacted by the sun, by rain, things like that. Polymer coated can totally get washed into your lawn if it rains a whole lot. Sulfur coated can break down based on weathering. So even though they say they're slow release,
it's environmental.
It's like you have to have really good conditions.
Yeah.
For polymer and sulfur coated stuff to stay slow release, right? And with all the rain we've had this year, and none of them working that
We've been
great.
swamped.
Yeah, but a urea methylene product, and sometimes even a urea formaldehyde, the name may sound funky, but again, urea formaldehyde is just more carbon bonds to the nitrogen.
Yeah, you know, understanding the chemistry of a lot of these different components really opens your eyes as to how they actually, the modes of action, how they work, what the different chemistry is, kind of can change your mind about what's good and what's bad.
Right, and there's a ton of stuff out there. So when you're reading labels, as you should, and reading directions, as you should always, one of the things I look for in my fertilizer is the nitrogen source. And let's face it, at least on the lawn care side, the name of the game is green.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, trees too. I mean, people when people look at a green leaf, they think the tree's healthy, but when it's yellow and all kind of sickly looking, it's the same deal.
Right. So, and urea formaldehyde is used more on trees.
Really? Okay.
Yes, because it is such more of a slow release, and those two products also have a super low salt index.
I'm gonna have to check some of our ingredient labels now. You got me curious.
Yeah, and there's other things like fish emulsion fertilizers or amino acids, soy-based protein. It's an amino acid, gets converted into nitrogen, and plant-based fertilizers, cornmeal, cottonseed meal, things that are a meal, are also slow release because they have to be consumed by microbes in the soil to be released.
And so thinking about herbicides, I know a big one is pre-emergence. Correct me if I'm wrong, isn't cornmeal, doesn't it act as a pre-emergent to some degree?
It does. Thank you for bringing that up, because it is actually pretty effective. It does not harm the lawn and the soil like a chemical pre-emergent. It has something to do with like the gluten in the corn disrupts the initial germination of weed seeds. But the thing is you have to do it like on a continuous basis. If you just did it one time and you
It's
said
not
this
enough.
doesn't work, it didn't work yet, because you kind of need to build that up over, I would say, if you really want to see it through, 4 applications, right? A fall, the early spring, a fall, a early spring, and you're gonna see like the best results of reducing your weeds and fertilizing the lawn, because the corn part of it, usually it's around like a 9 on the NPK.
Okay.
So you are also getting a good quality slow release fertilizer as well.
So it's a double. And so that's literally an organic weed and feed.
Yeah. 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 I get all turned up.
And
about
I mean,
that.
that's a very
Weed and
similar
feed
schedule
word.
to like traditional weed and feed bags, 4 times a year, 3 times a year, something along those lines on a
Yeah.
lot of weed and feed bags. So this is just switching product
So essentially,
and having a very similar result.
4 applications, but based on 2 a year, because that was for 2 years.
Yes,
So
over a 2-year span.
yeah, you're
so you're really
right.
reducing it, if anything, sometimes. Depends on the bag.
And
Everything's labeled.
Depends on the person's schedule, right? These schedules can have like too many freaking things.
Yeah.
So yes, thank you for bringing that up. Corn gluten and cornmeal is, and they are different. Like a corn gluten is for pre-emergent.
Okay.
Cornmeal is for a natural fungicide in the lawn. Did you know that?
So it's a triple. If you mix those together and you did your regimen, you could fertilize pre-emergent and fungicide all naturally.
Yes.
Wow. That I don't see why that's not such a game changer in today's. I mean, it seems like people really have this need, this want, this urge to go more organic, use less synthetic chemicals. And I mean, that sounds like an answer.
It is an answer. And at the end of the day, I think sometimes what happens is we are told that organics are more expensive, right? But is it really? When you put down all the synthetics you were told to, and say you have to replace the lawn or pay someone like me like $1,500 to $3,000 to fix it, was that schedule that cheap? No. You may pay a little bit more up front for an organic schedule, but it's going to be way more simple, right? It's going to be safe. It's going to be a lot more user friendly.
Yeah.
Because let's face it, I'm human, you're human. I've overdone it.
It's very easy to, I mean, just even one of those push spreaders, right? If you don't, some of them you can't even calibrate. And then even the ones that you can calibrate, who knows how to calibrate?
Look, not even with that.
Yeah.
But people knowing like what their square footage is. Oh, I bought a bag. I put the bag down. Sir, your lawn is 2,000 square feet, and this bag says it covers 8,000 square feet. I don't care what your calibration is. If you don't know that, you're toast.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So let's keep it simple, keep it safe. A little bit of humic acid. Molasses
and a little bit of humic acid.
Yeah. Seaweed. Look for things like urea-methylene or plant-based nitrogen sources. And in the back of your mind, I also want you to really ask this question, because this is a big determining factor, whether do or do not. Is it safe to touch with your bare hands?
That's a big one. I mean, read the labels on a lot of these chemical insecticides, chemical herbicides, fertilizers. They all talk about how they're caustic, how they might have cancer effects, how you need to wear gloves, how you need to wear goggles. Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
it can irritate your lungs. It can have detrimental effects.
And that's just what's on the label. If you go and try and find some like peer-reviewed research papers on effects of these chemicals, you can really scare yourself with how bad some of these chemicals might seem, and they very well could be, right?
Might seem
up in the air.
I'm going to argue that they are.
Yeah.
So when you're looking up products to use on your lawn, your landscape, around your trees, that should be your overarching question. Can you touch it with your bare hands? Because if the label says you can't, you probably shouldn't use it.
And what's the most absorbent part of your body? Your feet. And
really?
Where are you walking in your yard with? with your feet. You're walking barefoot in your yard
And that's what
with
people
the
tell me
most
all the time.
absorbent part of your body.
Yeah.
Hoping that you don't get messed up by the chemical
Not even
herbicides and
like,
who knows, all the different components you're
getting
putting
me
in
all
that yard.
excited about that part. So, is it natural? Is it safe? Can you touch it with your bare hands? We did go over quite a few things that you can touch with your bare hands that are natural, safe, and effective. You guys, thank you very much for watching.
Absolutely.
Man.
It's been great having y'all. Join us next time. I'm not really sure what we're covering, but hopefully it's something good.
But we're going to cover it.
Yeah.